journey.
Well, on that note,
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Awaken Hidden Truth with Scott Lembrell, the author of the series The Jedi Book and the Emerald Doorway.
book one of the Parallel Time trilogy.
Yes.
I'm in a simple t-shirt, simple man. I'm not here to impress people with my special celestial cosmic outer space office or in a fancy shirt. That's not my purpose for being on this earth. My purpose for being on this earth is to help in a process that is mostly taking place beyond the atmosphere of this planet, out in the multiverse, that is moving through this solar system, to help people be able to adjust to changing frequency and higher vibrations and the repercussions that will have on physical life on this earth. Because what is taking place cannot be prevented by any power or group of powers on this planet, classified or otherwise. And it's moving our way. It's not an invasion by bad aliens going to wipe us out. No, that's not it. It is and does represent great change, great unexpected change for this world. Because this planet is full of unconscious people suffering from a long amnesia in lifetimes they can't remember, out among the stars and out amongst other dimensions that they've long forgotten, in favor of being in a lifetime thinking this is the one and only life they have, and then they go off to some heaven. It's a nice idea, but it doesn't work practically. Whatever people think the supreme being is or the source behind all life, it requires that we learn how to respect all life in the grand multidimensional creation. That means not just life on Earth, and people on Earth aren't even getting that right. All life out there beyond this Earth, out in the billions of galaxies in multiple dimensions where most of what they call God is, makes Earth and its 7 billion people and all life here a speck, like a drop in a mighty ocean. The drop's important, just like all the other drops that make up the ocean, but it's just one drop. And the beings on Earth are destined through very many unexpected events to recover who and what they are, not as bodies and brains, not as the DNA form they're running temporarily. The beings on Earth are suffering from the illusion, for the most part, that they are a physical body and brain. And they've got this thing called soul somewhere they've got tucked away somewhere. And they think that that's separate from the body and brain they think they are. And it's quite backwards. They are a spherical shaped being running a body and brain. And they've long forgotten that on Earth. So people are left with what some authority tells them outside of themselves on Earth to what to believe. There's very little going on Earth except in some more quiet, discrete areas to encourage people to have direct experience about what they believe in. It's more just believe and then die. This is not the way the majority of life is, human and otherwise, beyond Earth, out amongst the stars in our galaxy. Just because people on Earth have been kept in the dark deliberately from knowing about life elsewhere doesn't mean it isn't there. There is a momentum of energy taking place out in the universe, moving through our solar system. It's not diabolical or deadly or destructive. It's not negative ETs, but it's changing even negative ETs out in our galaxy. And it's uplifting the beings who are already benevolent and kind. Things are changing. Earth is going through what it needs to go through in order to compel people to work together worldwide for the first time, because they will not do it voluntarily. That's obvious to anyone. If a person on earth does not remember what they are, that is not a brain and a body, if they don't remember what they used to know before they were compelled to be born here with no memory or very little, then how can they say they have free will? They certainly do, but most people on earth today are not aware of what that is anymore. They're buffeted around by all the negative thoughts and emotions that are packed in the atmosphere, inside the atmosphere of this planet, that do not go out in space. And people are trying to recover who they are when they're surrounded by all the fears and traumas of everyone else in the history of this whole world, which is still in the atmosphere of this planet. It's pure science, frequency. The way the atmosphere of a world works, the ionosphere and all of that, it keeps lower frequencies of thought and emotion within the atmosphere so it doesn't contaminate the void of space. You can't take negative thoughts and emotions, get on a ship, go out in space, get in a spaceship, go out in space, and start throwing it out in that what people think is an empty void between planets and stars, because it's not an empty void. It's energy. Human eyes just can't see it, so it looks black to them, dark, but it isn't. That energy is not nuclear atomic in nature. It's 0-point toroidal. It's the energy of the universe. It's a living force, and each individual spherical being that runs one of these bodies is comprised of that energy, the energy between things that float in it. And that energy moves up through the dimensions as one energy field at different levels of frequency. And in, say, from here to the astral plane, the next major division, there are a number of parallel realities within it, different molecular time rates. The energy that moves in the astral plane, the energy that moves in the physical plane, is connected through what you would call concentric generators, whirls that come together from a faster vibration to a slower, and they create little openings. An energy that is of a higher nature, that's supporting higher molecular time rates of DNA bodies and things that beings run, will transmit that energy through a process to send it down into a lower frequency to support a dimension below it. The whole universe was set up like this, up to what people call the void. Then there's a big energy field, and then there's upper realities. The universe is multidimensional in nature, not just the billions of galaxies you see through the Hubble telescope and radio telescopes out there. No, that's just one of 144 levels of that before you even get to one of the other divisions. Life out there, what people call the supreme being, is all of that. And it's way beyond the little ideas and petty beliefs and things that people on earth think are real. Many of the races and beings out there are far more advanced than any of the religions or the way people believe on this planet, because they understand the relationship consciously with this source energy, 0-point toroidal energy. They know it's not nuclear or atomic in nature. So how do you deal with something that is not atomic or nuclear? You can't deal with it if you try to apply atomic or nuclear energy on it. It won't work. It doesn't work that way. That energy supports those things, but it isn't the same.
Scott, there are new audience watching our show and then have a question about religion. Could you please talk about this?
I'm not going to talk very much about religions because
Yeah,
I'm not very for or against any of them. It's not my place to be for or against religions as they're believed in on earth or practiced. But I would say it's more my nature and the beings I work with from other worlds and other realities to help people understand direct experience about the things they believe in. I don't mean just having an emotional reaction to what they think is divine spirit, but actually understanding what this thing they call divine spirit is. It's not something that's to be prayed to get what you want. It is something that you imagine in, which is a godly ability, a divine one, and it co-creates what we imagine, good or bad. This is why people are so encumbered on earth with good things and bad things simultaneously, because they're busy putting out imagination, wonderful life for themselves and their family, terrified of the future and the present nuclear war, terrified of different countries' powers, one political structure versus another, one religion versus another, all these different races represented on Earth that didn't originate on this planet. As you throw those people together with no memory of what they were before they were forced to be born here, and you've got chaos, controlled chaos with people trying to run things, making decisions based on subconsciously driven fear. And because fear is negative, the outcome has to be negative. So the real formula is to be conscious enough as a being to deliberately put out constructive, uplifting energy for the good of all life. And I don't just mean life on Earth. That won't cut it. That won't work. The greater, what we would call the supreme being, what we call, well, people from other worlds who know, call source or prime creator. They don't say that because they worship it. They say it because they respect it, because they know they're part of it. And so they're willing to work in harmony collectively together better because they understand from experience what this is. It isn't religion to them. It's knowing. There is a difference between faith in belief and knowing. These two things, properly energized, properly alive, vital, with a living energy behind all creation, the first word, sound, motivates faith to lead into experience. Any religion or any belief, whatever it may be, should lead to direct experience that is of a harmonious co-creative nature toward the rest of creation. Or it's wrong. It's misdirected. It's negative in nature or suppressive. We don't want that. It's like asking people and humans, too, many of them from other worlds, to come here and liberate this backward planet. Meaning the beings living on it are being subconsciously misdirected through negative fear and emotions to do what they're doing to make the planet like it is without realizing they're doing it. How people got to be like that on Earth, I could tell people how that happened all day long, but it won't mean anything to them until they have the same knowing experience that I've had for themselves. So my work's more about encouraging people to have the courage and the demonstration by example for people to work with certain things they can do to recover who and what they are that is not now, nor has it ever been, a physical body or brain in one lifetime. They, without realizing it, run around and call it soul without really knowing what that is. Most people think soul is off somewhere else separate from what they think this is, this brain and body. But that's not how it works. The Atma, what beings more evolved call a drop of the source itself, is an individualization of exactly the same conscious living energy that's at the source itself behind all life, what they call the supreme being. It's not an individual on the throne up there, one being. That's not how it works. There is a source, and it is collectively comprised of all atmas, all souls, linked together telepathically throughout the dimensions and throughout creation. And it has a presence. The most advanced spacefaring races, and I mean the very most advanced, are aware of this source. And the other vast majority of races out there that are spacefaring that are kind are rapidly becoming aware of it again for the first time, out beyond Earth. This is naturally going to have an effect upon the people of this planet. It is unavoidable. What people think they have as free will to pollute and ruin their world is not free will. It has nothing to do with free will, because if they had free will, they would not choose to do what they're doing with this world, with each other right now. So the first thing people on Earth need to do somehow is to recover true free will as beings. Because the destiny of a being running a body and brain on Earth or anywhere else is to one day become a trustworthy co-creator with that source they pray to. You cannot do that with childish attitudes and behaviors, praying to something and expecting to take you to some heaven and let you run havoc up there with all the crap a person would bring with them who has not learned or done the discipline to become masterful or more enlightened about what the purpose of life is for, why they exist. Ultimately, beings running bodies on any world system is to teach people how to be much more expanded beings, conscious co-creators with the source itself. They're going to take on great responsibilities, running galaxies, whole kinds of things. That's people on Earth have no idea what their real destiny is. It's very grand. But as long as they're running around with little or no memory of who and what they were before they were born here, they're cut off from most of the wisdom that they have in the core of their spherical being, what people call soul. It's there. It's just dormant. It's turned off. It's not being used. People on Earth are not raised from childhood to even think about how to turn any of that on. So they don't. That's a problem, because you don't have a mass of people out there being supportive of awakening. It's a minority, tiny fraction. What people on Earth are going to discover is that there is a great majority of beings out there who are already working in this way. And if we want to go play with them among the stars and get their help to sort this backward planet out and help people wake up and recover what they once knew, we are going to have to ask for it. It's not going to be dumped on us. Only tyrants do that. But they at least are protecting this world from self-annihilation. They've prevented nuclear war many times already without trying to run governments here or anything like that. Nobody wants that terrible job. They want people on Earth to work together in harmony as one people for the good of all life, so that we can take that out there and join a much greater organization of world systems. They're vast, and we are not going to be able to take our little perversions and unconscious attitudes out there and throw it up on them. They're more advanced than we are, and they're not going to, spiritually, technologically more advanced. Humans I'm talking about. When people on this planet find out what's out there, it's going to shock them to their drawers. When they find out there's human beings on other worlds living quite differently than we do here, it's going to be quite a revelation about what God is and how big it is. It's not just limited to this one little planet. Never was, never will be. This means people on Earth have forgotten almost everything that matters. Gathering material things and living a life and having babies and having families is not the purpose for why we exist. We should be custodians, caretakers of the worlds and the bodies we run for the uplifting benefit of all life. For people on Earth to recover 100% use of 100% of a developed brain they have, they're going to have to be responsible in the way they use their imagination and emotional energy, because it goes out from their body and it affects the molecules in the atmosphere. And the way the law of the physical universe works is everything you put out is reflected off this energy. It comes back. When people put out fear, make decisions supposedly for the good of all life on planet Earth, Governments make decisions, they fund this, they fund that, and it backfires. Then they throw trillions more at it with the same kind of fear to try to fix it. And it can't be fixed that way. Ever. You can't throw negative out there and expect positive results. It just won't work. So, how do we get into a frame of consciousness which more advanced beings call serenity of being? What is serenity of being? Is it giddy laughter and then sadness? No. Is it emotional imbalance, way up high and then crash real low? No. Serenity of being is the way the true being, not the body or brain, is when it's awake and knows what it is. Its eternal nature as energy, not matter, not atomic, energy, yes, but not nuclear, and its relationship to the source from whence it once came, long ago. Once a being becomes aware of this on any planet, in any incarnation, it's like this primordial first sound behind creation, this thing they call divine spirit, links up with them and begins to draw them back to where they originated while they're alive. I can't make this clearer or more simple than this. It's universal. It isn't just about what I believe or it's what people think on Earth. It's the way it works out in the grand multidimensional creation itself. The whole energy field that galaxies float in is huge compared to the little worlds of galaxies in them, the distance between them. To human eyes on Earth that can only see a small frequency, they're only designed, well, particularly because of the way people's genetics are limited on Earth, they see that outer space void as black. So they've called it dark matter. The more advanced scientists and quantum physicists and others on Earth right now that are beginning to recover a little bit more of who they are, begin to understand that that energy out there is not black or dark, and it's not a void. It's powerful energy that is between all things and underneath and around all things that float in it, little magnetic worlds. And those points are connected to other points in higher realities. The universe is huge. It's not just physical galaxies out there. It's in levels. And beings that are more advanced can travel between these levels and know about them. Even their children growing up on their planets know about them. Normal human planets, and I'll just use the word human, but there are many other body forms, bipedal, that are even more advanced than human beings. Children on those planets grow up knowing what they are that is not the body they're running. Governments and families and people know this. And their children they mirror for their children while they're growing up, maintaining awareness of how to get in and out of their body so they know the difference. So those kids grow up motivated to create and invent and do new things for the benefit of all life, and not just life, never just for life on their one planet, for all the planets that are involved collectively in a harmonious, vast organization of spacefaring world systems. The responsibility of such beings is to help lesser races, or beings, I should say, that are less aware, make the steps to be able to join into a greater understanding of why they exist. It isn't about running bodies, thinking you're a body. It never was. Any negative nature, negative emotions, negative thoughts, were designed originally to only be temporary. They were never meant to be permanent. The way people have been, over time, experienced lifetimes on many worlds, most of them not even on Earth, over a great period of time, they've long forgotten how to utilize the higher faculties of the being they are. And they aren't trained on the worlds they're born in to use them at all. So all you've got is a being running what they think is a brain and body that's running at 6 to 10% of its capacity, isn't even using the rest of the brain. That's known on Earth. Does it make any sense to anybody that human beings on Earth only use 6 to 10% of a fully developed brain? Well, there's only one answer to why that is, because they're not aware to use the rest of it. And that means the being that's running the body has to know how to turn on the rest of it. So higher awareness can come through this form for the sake of all life. There's no shortcut for this. We are being trained to be co-creators with the source behind all life. I will state this again. Although people on Earth do not realize this yet, they're being trained to be co-creators with the source behind all life. And that is our destiny. In a longer sense, we're being trained to contribute to creating new ways of running things in the multiverse, so that the lower dimensions of time and space and all the planets, wacko and Earth and backwards, and eventually will be mirrors of what are called the upper realities, beyond what people, some esoteric groups on Earth call the void, which is certainly not void of energy. And there are realities above that. And although people on Earth, a vast majority of them do not realize it, they originated or came from a reality far above the void, long ago. And it is their eventual destiny to return to the source from whence they came, aware. The motivation they will have when they do that along the way is to create new ways of doing things with a passionate zeal, a zest for life that will benefit all life there, all life in the lower dimensions of time and space, and all life on Earth, and all life on all those other worlds out there. We are not going to get out of this one, ever. Doesn't matter where you are on what planet. This is the destiny of all beings, to be co-creators with that source. The sooner we get that understood on Earth, the sooner we learn how to work with the zero-point of toroidal energy of the universe, and we can leap across the stars way beyond the speed of light and go to different places, like other beings do already. And there are beings out there that have understood anti-gravity for billions of years, some of them human. Which means, how old are human beings? Did they originate on planet Earth? No, not ever. They were brought here when it was ready. Where did all the different races that are represented on Earth come from? Under one atmosphere, near one sun with one dead moon that doesn't turn. All these different races could not have naturally evolved on this planet. And they didn't. You will not find a missing bone somewhere in Earth's ancient history that will prove we came from dinosaurs or cavemen or Neanderthal or Cro-Magnon, because it doesn't exist on this planet. It doesn't even exist originally in the Milky Way galaxy. So where did human forms in this genetic structure evolve, and who was involved in helping that happen? People on Earth don't ask these questions, do they? If you don't grow up, or you haven't somehow recovered the ability to be intelligent or see into the universe in this way, then you're not going to think about it growing up. Life becomes nothing but a materialistic drudgery. Make money, pay taxes, elect politicians, have babies, grow old and die, and all you've got is what you believe, but you don't know anything else. Most people believe they can't understand the source behind all life, that they're not intelligent enough, but this is not true. And the reason it's not true is because what we really are that's running the brain and body temporarily on Earth is comprised of exactly the same energy as the source itself on a smaller scale, like a drop of this pure energy, individualized, out of a mighty ocean of it, circling around a center. Why are planets and suns and moons round? They are designed after their creators. Not like this, that walk around on these planets. That's different. Okay, so when we go on one of these journeys, I work with the first sound, as many beings do beyond Earth and many different dimensions, that runs through the void of space. There is a frequency to it, a primordial vibration. It is not nuclear atomic, there's no protons, electrons, or atoms within it. Those things are slower vibrations that are constructs on it. It provides the energy to sustain that. And there are beings who work with this primordial energy to sustain the way the creation is, to keep it in place. There are actually beings who do that. So we work with the first half of the word human, hue, because it sets up a round hole tone that affects the pineal gland, the center of the human brain, even on Earth, and then opens a kind of a door. The door goes into the energy out in the void of space. It's a telepathic function, connects into it, and then is connected directly to the source. Once that happens, a being, let's just say that the source, whatever it is, whatever people believe it to be, becomes aware of you as a soul or an atma for the first time in maybe several 100 billion years. It's like, oh, this one's waking up. It begins to take the individual on a journey, gradual, balanced, to recovering its purpose for existing that it's long forgotten. So while it's alive, it begins to go on journeys and recover the higher awareness it once had about why it exists and where it came from, that it's long forgotten or been made, suppressed by tyrants in its history before being born on this earth somewhere. People mostly that live on earth today were brought here often at different time periods as slaves under tyrant cultures to mind, do the dirty work, and then often just left behind, tampered with genetically, shut down. So they would reincarnate and pass on these shut down genes, generation after generation with no memory, be compulsively compelled to reincarnate here with no memory over and over again. There have been great, kind, advanced cultures on this earth, and there have been tyrant cultures under treaty, small areas. Never one race has ever dominated this planet, this one we call Earth. It's never been run by tyrant ETs or by benevolent ones entirely. And this goes back in galactic history, the history of our galaxy, and where people, what they experienced happened to them before they found themselves on this earth. So what we want to do is work with the hue to begin to reverse this process. This is not about an individual ego or being. It's not about money. It's not about power, fame, or fortune. It's about the nature of ourself as beings and why we exist, recovering that. So I go into the hue and I take it up a series of tones in order to help you put your body to sleep, whether you're lying down or sitting up in a chair. First thing we do is close our eyes, because when the eyes are open, you're drawing light and frequency and vibration in from the outer world, which is very negative. You close it, you shut it off. And then we go into what people on Earth call daydreaming. Daydreaming, meaning what you can imagine with your eyes closed, does not take place in the human brain. This is really quite a challenge, difficult for people to grasp when they've long forgotten it. And they're usually in fear or terror of recovering their higher faculties of co creative being, their nature with the source itself. They're actually afraid of it. Or they've been taught to fear a supreme being that's wrathful, and if you don't pray to it just right, you get a pitchfork in your keister and go off to some demonic place. That is all created by tyrants in Earth's history and in other planetary histories outside of Earth to control and dominate them. There's no validity to any of it. The purpose of individual being, what people beyond other worlds call Atma, what people on Earth call soul, is to one day become a co-creator with that source. When I send out the hue, it will assist you to put your body to sleep, which you do, all of you, every single night anyway. We're not doing anything different except for one thing. As I serve as a kind of guide, and you hear my voice, it is a telepathic function. This means that you, the being, not the body, not the brain, that's going to go to sleep, it means you're putting it on automatic. When you're putting something like that on automatic, the heart runs, blood circulates, you breathe, and then you leave every single night. We all do. People on Earth are not taught this properly or encouraged consciously as they're growing up about any of this. So they're not aware of or how to bring back what they do when they're out of the body in the morning when they wake that body up. If people on Earth knew what they are that is not a physical body, they would bring back what they're doing when they're on journeys beyond this Earth every single night. And it would change this world dramatically. So I've continued to record. I think Perry dropped off the internet for a moment, came back, but the recording has continued. So we'll continue on our journey. And I'll begin these shoes because it will help you put your physical body to sleep and other bodies you may not remember you have, like on the astral or causal or other dimensions above here, where you have a life you're running in a material world, a higher time rate frequency of matter than here. And this will assist you to go on this journey as a whole round spherical being. The body's safe, on automatic, in a sleep state, no one's home. And then what you see, as I describe where we're going, you are seeing from the spherical being looking out into the multiverse. It has nothing to do with the brain and body because that is basically turned off and on automatic in the sleep state. I'll begin those tones now. Wherever you are, if you're lying down or sitting in a chair, your body will go into the sleep state, just like you put it in every night anyway. You're all experts at this, but you're not experts anymore at remembering how to bring back, for the most part, what it is you do when you're out of that body every night. It's a complex process, causing the pineal gland, the center of the brain, to secrete serotonin, make melatonin, and put the body in automatic so you can leave it. People on Earth do this every night, but they're blocked, or subconscious fear keeps them from being aware of and bringing back to this form for the uplifting benefit of all life what it is you can do when you're out there. When we go on these journeys, we do not visit negative areas in the astral, causal, mental, etheric, or physical worlds. We do not do that. It is a waste of time. We visit benevolent worlds, master teachers, and beings who are busy at work, helping to develop a different way to run the lower worlds of time and space than has been employed for hundreds of billions of years. It's changing out there. Imagine someone you love and respect, you're grateful for there in your life. Person, place, or thing. Just daydream it. Just imagine it. It's easy for you to close your eyes and imagine being at the beach or in the mountain at a camping trip or in another country or going on vacation or being on another world or in another dimension. It's your choice. People are not taught that when they daydream, the brain is not involved in the process at all. I will state that again. When you daydream, when you imagine anything, with your eyes open or with them closed, this is not being done in the human brain. In the brain, all the billions of neurons and nerve cells, there is no function like a motion picture camera that can project on a movie screen what you imagine. That's not its purpose. So what you're doing when you imagine anything really is that you are looking into the grand multidimensional creation somewhere in the present, in the past, or out in other realities, other worlds, and other dimensions. If people knew that their simple imaginative ability is designed to see and know things in the multiverse, to work with this one energy behind all creation, this one living first sound, what they call divine spirit. That energy is a living singular force or power. We are not the power, as drops in a mighty ocean. The ocean operating as one ocean is the power, and it manifests or brings into reality what we imagine in it, good or bad. It simply supports us. Our true nature is to be aware and awake, to use the creative imagination, to see by choice constructive, uplifting things, add our own constructing, uplifting nature to it, and work our lives from there. Imagine someone you love and respect, you're grateful they're in your life, person, place, or thing. Imagine walking along a golden sandy beach midday with a cool ocean offshore breeze gently blowing by. You can feel the mist of the salt water hit your face like a kiss. You can hear the sound of the ocean crashing against a shore. Palm trees, beautiful turquoise blue water, and an even darker blue sky. And you feel the sand between your toes. And you look around you and realize that this tropical paradise is not on Earth. The sand, which is golden, is glowing about a foot above the sand. And when you look out at daytime up in the sky, you can see celestial objects, even another galaxy, and blue giant stars, yellow and orange ones at different distance, much closer to this world than objects are from the planet Earth. And so you are standing on the ocean shore of a planet nearer to the galactic core of our Milky Way galaxy, all through seeing the creative imagination. It is a higher faculty of being. When a person on Earth who's been made to forget all this begins to recover the truth of this nature, their life and life around them begins to change. We begin to connect into the one primordial first sound behind all creation that scientists, some of them on Earth, are calling toroidal, zero point, or the energy of the universe. That energy that's between planets and galaxies and suns and moons that float in it. It is vast, and it is a type of supportive, constructive energy that simply maintains the creation of the universe, and then beings running around in it see what they'll do with it. Imagine being above your body back on Earth, near the ceiling. You are spherical in nature, like a planet, luminous, not matter. You have a white core like the size of a basketball, and a layer of yellow, golden, white teardrop shapes around it in a layer, another layer that becomes a little further out in a concentric widening circle. That's a little orange, and then a little red, and then a little green, blue, and violet, and lavender, golden exterior. Different layers of these faculties of being, what people on Earth call soul. The Atma, the real you, has an actual structure. And this is the real you, not the brain and body that grows old and perishes at some point, as it is in life on Earth anyway, for now. And you can see down in your body, sitting there or lying there with the eyes closed. The body may hear a truck go by or some other physical sound on Earth, but it's in the sleep state, the trance state, we put the body in every night. The difference is you're hearing my voice, you're staying consciously aware of the process. When you look out near the ceiling, you can see right through the walls and the roof of wherever you are, and you can see the houses and the homes in the city around you. Then you look up and you find yourself at 10,000 feet up in the atmosphere of planet Earth, looking down on your city, and you can look right through the roof of your house and see yourself also hovering there as a spherical being near the ceiling, looking down on your sleeping body. You are spherical energy, a multidimensional characteristic, and you are in both places simultaneously, running things. And then you look up and find that you are in outer space above the Earth, quite a ways from the Earth, but you can see the polar ice caps turning on its axis, the land masses you're familiar with, oceans. And from here, you don't see individual things like planes and roadways and cities, just land masses, ocean, polar ice caps, one atmosphere around one planet. And you look over to the left and you see the barren moon pockmarked with meteor craters. It does not turn on its axis as it circles the planet Earth. It always shows us the same face. There's no oxygen atmosphere, very little gravity. And in the distance, you can see our yellow sun. And then you look at the energy between the moon and the Earth and the sun, and it doesn't appear black to you as an atma floating here in space at all. It looks to be a bright golden white light, saturating everything between the Earth, the moon, and the sun, above and below us, out through and between the billions of stars that make up our Milky Way galaxy. And then you find yourself above the entire galaxy, out in the great vast void of space. And there are others with us here in a circle around a very advanced friend of mine, myself, and several other master teachers. And we are looking down at the galaxy we call the Milky Way. And out in one of the seven spiral arms of that galaxy near the outer edge, you can see the Earth and the sun and the moon. It's like you have a telephoto lens for your vision. And you are floating in space around Ambassador Turellian and others, who is an advanced human, was an advanced human being long ago. And he's showing you an 18-foot tall body standing in space, because that's how big they were, 18 to 25 feet. And there's a spherical being hovering above him, which is the real him. The body is just a pure energy form he's showing you, so you have something to relate to. And you realize that you're looking at a body that looks just like you, about 36, perfectly healthy in every way, strong, viral, muscular, men or women, strong, vital, radiant. And there is a spherical being, you, hovering above this form you're showing everyone else. We are floating in the vast void, high above, high over the Milky Way galaxy. And when you look out in space far to the left, you can see the Andromeda galaxy, another entire galaxy way over that way. You are floating as a spherical being in an energy that is of one nature, and that energy continues uninterrupted from way above the Milky Way galaxy all the way up through other dimensional realities. It's all connected together. The energy that makes up the white core of your being, hovering in space around Turellian, myself, and others, is made of the same energy as the void of space itself, except what comprises you as an Atma is of a much higher frequency or vibration of that energy. It did not originate in the hue energy of the physical universe. So we are in a telepathic communication with this one energy, which is not nuclear or atomic, and it is linked everywhere. It goes all the way through the lower planes, below the void, through the void itself, what certain esoteric groups call a higher dimension where there doesn't appear to be anything there but some pale blue light. There is stuff there, but most beings never see it. And beyond that void are even higher realities that don't have positive and negative currents to construct the worlds we live on. And here we are above the Milky Way galaxy. And when you listen with the core of your being, you can hear an omnipresent first sound running through that huge void in which all things float, like galaxies and planets and moons and suns and stars. And it sounds like millions of men and women's voices singing in perfect harmony. Until it blends into one pulsing, vibrant, energizing, luminous tone. You feel it pulsing in the core of your being, hovering in space. You feel it in the solar plexus of the physical form that you are manifesting here. It's a projection. It's like it's breathing in space where there is no air, but it isn't a physical body. It just looks like one. And so you're having experience of being above the Milky Way galaxy while your body's in the sleep state back on Earth, sitting in a chair or laying down. There are certain master teachers here with us. I call them master teachers, although they don't refer to themselves that way, because they are adept at knowing how to circumnavigate the multiverse. They have no negative nature, and their interest in being with us is to not only observe how we recover who we are, but what we eventually become to be a contributing co-creator with them. They know people on Earth have great potential in this regard, although it's dormant or sleeping. One of them is named Master Ramu. He's about 6 feet tall with curly, short-cropped black beard and hair, swarthy skin. He's holding a crystal staff about 6 feet high, about an inch thick, inch and a half. It's quartz and it's glowing with a golden light. And there's a symbol on top of it, like a cross with a vertical oval hole in the center of it, above it. I think in Egyptian history, it was referred to as a symbol for eternal life. And it is a device, and he always carries this with him. Behind the being, the physical form he's showing you, which is ageless, is a round spherical Atma just like you. Another being that often goes on these journeys with us is named Opelum, and he's from a mostly water-covered world. He's human, pale blue skin, jet black hair, long to his shoulders, slightly pointed ears, and emerald green eyes. And he looks completely human, about 40, perfectly trim, elegant gown-like garment. He's holding up his right hand, and you can see little webs between them. Lifts up his neck, 3 little slits, they're little gills. This is a human race that evolved on a mostly water-covered world, and they can breathe underwater or on land. So he's showing you the body that he actually has on that planet. Means he's out of his body as an Atma, showing you a physical form that looks like him, so you have something to relate to. They immortalized their physical forms a very long time ago. That means they know they're not bodies, but they keep them the same age. Terrellian, who's standing in the center of these beings, and all of us, his race, the Say race, immortalized their bodies in a different way over 1 billion years ago. They actually dematerialized the DNA structure and stored it in one of the teardrops of the spherical form that's hovering above this form he's showing you. When he wants to utilize that body to walk on a world or carry out a mission, he will draw energy from the one source, the zero point or toroidal energy, materialize that body instantly, carry out a mission, and then store it again. They do not have the burden of running physical bodies around like we do on Earth. This is just to give people more of an experience of the types and kinds of beings you'll run into, or Earth people will, when they begin to explore space in a more wondrous way than with rocket ships. Those types of craft will never get out among the stars. When people on Earth learn to work with the energy of the universe that exists between things that float in it, advancements will take place most rapidly. And there are beings out among the stars that can help us achieve this if we're doing it for the right reasons. We are high above, high over the Milky Way galaxy in the vast void of space. And it is a white golden light everywhere. When you look up, Terrellian is pointing with his index finger straight up. And you begin to see a whirling blue-green tornado of energy, not violent, but it's a whirling opening tunnel. And it looks like blue-green luminous water circling around an opening. And way up on the other side, when you look up, you can see what looks to be a cobalt blue luminous atmosphere, much brighter than the space you're in now. And Terrellian and Master Ramu and Opelum and myself and all of you, others who I've not described, who are from or work with the Galactic Alliance of Worlds located near the core of the Milky Way galaxy. They are teachers, master teachers, and they are adept at helping people be free of subconscious negative drives or implanted negative programs. So they're going on this journey, and Terrellian, as he starts to move upward, like planets around a sun, moving around the center of him, he moves up into this opening, and we go there with him. And we're shot up at tremendous speed. And as you look out from yourself, you can see levels of dimensions of galaxies passing by. And up ahead, you see a brighter cobalt blue light, and we suddenly pass through an opening and find ourselves hovering high in a blue atmosphere, much brighter than anything in the physical universe. And then that tunnel vanishes, and we're looking down on 6 snow-covered mountain peaks in a circle on a floating landmass, like a continent, not as big as a continent, but quite large. And it's completely circular. And out in the distance, you can see a white, luminous, sandy beach circling the entire circumference. And down to the west of this one mountain peak, on a lower plateau, on a white marble circular floor, is a blue glass administration tower rising up out of the floor, hundreds of feet, thousands of feet, really. It's blue glass, smooth sides, curved up, comes to a flattened center and up to a minaret point. And you look at the base of this white marble floor that it comes out of, and you see white roadways, straight as an arrow, moving around like the spokes of a bicycle tire, out through jungle, beautiful horticultural, beautiful agricultural, beautiful botanical gardens in every direction. And when you look to the west, you can see there are little right turns and left turns every so often going towards the western coast. And there are clearings in these turns to the right and left, and these are teaching facilities. This is the Hugh Expansionary Academy. It is located beyond the void known to certain esoteric groups on Earth, beyond the Atma plane, which is the first plane of the higher realities, and in an area between the fifth and sixth dimensions. And it is something new that was brought into creation 8 or 9 years ago, Earth time, to facilitate training individuals who are becoming awakened from their long sleep in the lower dimensions of time and space to where they can rediscover how to put in new ways of creating things for the benefit of all life. The energy here is not positive and negative. There are no planets, no moons, no suns, no stars here. Just a living, vibrant cobalt blue energy supporting a floating landmass in it. If you look into this blue energy that you're breathing in here, you'll see a white golden light behind it. You can see it just behind the blue, supporting it. When you look down at the 6 mountain peaks, you can see there is a white circular island down in the center of the valley between the 6 mountains, and a blue-green luminous lake, circular lake surrounding it. And you find yourself hovering around this white circular landmass floating in a blue-green lake. And there is a cobalt blue transparent sphere hovering above a 4-foot-high rectangular pedestal that looks like lapis lazuli. It's a blue stone laced with gold. And in the center of this 4-foot wide sphere hovering there is a radiant blue star. And when you look into this transparent outer circumference of this sphere, it looks like you're looking into an eternity to this star way far away. And then we find ourselves inside the sphere, surrounding this star, this radiant, pulsing energy field. And there is a white golden shaft of light coming down from above into this star, and it's running as a beam of light through the very core of all of our beings. The white core continues past us, out into the 6 mountain peaks, and onward down each of the roadways and into the teaching facilities. This energy comes from many higher realities above here. You can hear the sound of millions of men and women's voices singing the hue, simultaneously running through this white golden light current. And this is the first sound of eternity, the missing word, as it were, which isn't a word at all. It is the connective energy that allows all beings to reconnect to the source itself from whence they originated. And this is meant to take place while each one of us is living out a life running a body on some planet at some point in some incarnation. This is the hue, the first half of the word human, human, hue woman, hue animal, hue plant, hue planet, hue there, hue there, hue there on all levels. And it is one energy. And you find yourself out at the end of the western roadway, moving over the top of this floating circular landmass. And you can see teaching facilities, dome facilities, pyramid facilities in clearings surrounded by beautifully landscaped botanical paradises. And we come to rest with our toes, bare, naked toes, wiggling in radiant white golden light sand. There is a blue-green water washing across to the shore. And when you look at it, it looks like water, but it isn't. It's energy. When you look at this white luminous sand, it feels like you're touching tiny polished diamonds. And energy is moving up your feet through the top of your head and into the white core of your being, the spherical being you are hovering above this form. And you can see the rest of us standing a few feet apart down this curved beach. And you find yourself suddenly surrounding Torellian, myself, Ramu, Pelham, and several other beings, men and women. The atmosphere hovering above them, way off in the distance of this radiant cobalt blue light that surrounds this floating landmass. And then you see we are at quite a distance from it, and it is all by itself floating in this vast energy. And then it recedes into the distance until it vanishes. We are now floating in the void of a much higher energy field between the fifth and sixth realities above the void known to certain esoteric groups on Earth. And then you see it coming back towards us because we are zooming back toward it until we find ourselves hovering once again above 6 snow-covered mountain peaks, looking out at these white roadways that go out like the spokes of a bicycle tire. They come to the bottom of the base of the mountains into tunnels. They go into an interior, hollowed out interior with a white shaft of golden light roaring up and down it. And then they continue through tunnels to white roadways to exit at the other side of this circular landmass on the beach. The sound here is like the very high note of a flute. And we find ourselves moving into the shaft of white golden light in the hollowed interior between these 6 mountains, inside the center of this landmass. And then we move down this shaft of light inside it, Torellian and all of us, easily, effortlessly, and we come out hovering above a garden. We're in a dimension just below here. And there is a being standing near a white alabaster fountain. It's on a white marble floor, the botanical concentric circles of gardens around it, a brown moss-covered path at the edge of this 100-foot wide marble floor with a fountain in it. And it winds its way up the countryside to the base of crystalline-type palatial structures, lining the base of a long snow-covered mountain range. Now, this being's name is Satnam. It just means true name. You're looking at a form he's showing you that looks to be bronzed of skinned, about 36, 2 gold bracelets on his upper arms, a little white tunic dress from his waist to just above his bare feet, strongly built, bare-chested, bronzed, bald head, looks like he's from India, but he's not. Above him, a brilliant spherical being. He has his hand on the white alabaster scalloped edges of this, looks like white alabaster stone, and in it is a statue of himself standing up with his open palms down at his sides, facing down and out, and there's this white golden light flowing down to the top of the head of the statue, out the palms, filling this bowl in a radiant white golden light that drops in an even sheet around it and vanishes in the ground. We are in the Atma plane, the first reality above the void, known to certain esoteric groups on Earth. They think incorrectly that it is the end and be all of all things. It is not. It is a barrier between the upper realities and the worlds of time and space. And in this fountain is a luminous liquid light, and it's flowing over the edge of this scalloped edge and vanishing in the ground to channel energy to the void and then into the lower worlds that begin with the etheric, then mental, causal, lower down astral, and physical, and where Earth is. And from here, you can see 12 golden cups on 12 golden hooks. And these cups lift off the hooks by themselves, dip themselves in this liquid, and then pour this energy down your throat. This is a pure energy body you're manifesting here. It goes up through the top of your head, through the body, into the white core of your being, the real you, the Atma, soul. And then you can see it ending up like a thin shaft of light coming from the center white core of your being, hovering near the ceiling above your sleeping body back on earth. And it's pouring into the pineal gland gently in a state of serenity of being, peace and tranquility, moving through the brain, turning things on, moving out beyond your physical body in a sphere until it's about 2 miles across. Then it leaves that circle of energy there and continues on out into the earth, out into space, and it connects to giant pyramids that have been stationed between stars in our galaxy. And then it's beamed back upward. And this goes on nonstop, 24/7, uninterrupted. You look down with kindness on that body on earth, realizing that what you are imagining is not being done in the sleeping brain, but you are bringing back the awareness of this journey to that brain and body that you grew up with on earth that had none of this taught to it. Life changes for the better. When you're ready, open your eyes.
Thank you for the journey, Scott, and sorry for the internet interruption
It
too.
won't matter because it stayed recording on my end. You're only gone for a couple of minutes. It won't matter. It'll be fine because then when I send you the recording, let me know if it's okay when you play it back. And you'll enjoy the journey better the second time yourself.
Yes,
It will
yes.
be uninterrupted for you. And then when you put it on your YouTube channel, people will be able to go on this journey at no cost or charge whenever they so please. I would recommend that they do it when they can set aside a couple hours where they not be interrupted by phones or people or pets. Play this, put on a set of headphones, put on the speakers, and go on the journey a second time. They'll see much more detail and things I didn't even describe for their benefit. But they have to do the work. They have to put in the effort, the co-creative effort to send into this one sound, this pure first sound behind creation, that they're ready to recover who they are, because it will respond to that. This has to be people's individual experience. I can tell them what will happen, demonstrate it, share techniques for them to do it, but they have to go on the journey themselves for it to be of great benefit for them, especially on Earth. So the one book of 2 that I published, The Savior's Agenda, shows a ship, and I've said this on other shows, but I'll repeat it because there's always something new in a different way that comes into these journeys that's different from the last journeys we took. Sometimes we take long journeys out in space, go to another planet, or we go all the way up to the source energy, or we go to the Hue Expansionary Academy, which is just a little bit above where Satnam is, beyond the void. The way people become aware of the reality of these things is by having the experience. So this ship is a mile long, bridge controls on each end, surrounded by an anti-gravitic light. So it's in the ice rings that comprise the rings of the planet Saturn in our solar system. These are scout craft about 30 feet across, 3 semi-spheric or hemispheric domes underneath. And these are entering this midsection of this craft by raising their molecular time rate and the gravitational field, the energy they create from this, all this 0-point energy out here, that all this floats in. And so they're able to travel through this in ways that are quite beyond what people think is the limit of the speed of light. And there isn't one. Human eyes have a limit to what they can detect, but there actually isn't a limit. It just goes into higher realities and higher frequency. These people know it. So this is on the front of the Savior's Agenda. This is quite an adventure. And in the back, this is Mark Sandfield. There's some assailants on Earth. He's in a solo camping trip in the High Sierra Mountains, California, and he's attacked. His tent is blown apart here. They knock out a part of the tree, and one of those ships is, which is a human pilot on it, not from Earth, is beaming him aboard, saves his life. Now this man, at this point, doesn't remember how he got to be on Earth, but he recovers that along the way. So people reading it can start that journey. In the back of the book is a special technique section, which I wanted to show you. Here it is, what it looks like. And in it are techniques involving the hue for the prologue and all 29 chapters. People can work with these if they want to and recover more of what they're doing when they're out of their body at night, when the body's put to sleep. They all do it, and bring back more awareness. That's the whole point. The other one that's published is the first book of the Parallel Time trilogy called The Emerald Doorway. These beings, human, blue skin, regular Caucasian. This is a master teacher holding a crystal staff. That's Ramu. There's a little creature named Etta. He's a Dren, silica based. He's not from Earth. This race developed the ability to defy gravity and fly through the air as an organic creature, silica based, not carbon. And these three beings, although they're being introduced to this spherical entity that's come through from an opening to the fifth reality above the void. Here's his ship, hovering stationary. They're on antigravitic little discs that they're gravitationally grounded to, hovering above what is now the land masses that appeared after the poles of Earth flipped 100,000 years ago, destroying life on the planet, raising new land masses up. Quite a violent affair. He's introducing them to this source energy, what it looks like, and what these beings do not realize right now is that they have one of these hovering above their heads that is really who they are. Part of what this teacher's job is to get them to be aware of this 100,000 years ago. That's the Emerald Doorway. 3 books are written, 1 is published. This, of course, is a human being named Sundar, who has gotten a hold of a special crystal device by killing his master teacher. He's holding the earth in the palm of his hand because he thinks power is for his personal selfish use. He goes through quite some experiences. And so when you go into this journey, you're going to find there's more than 30 illustrations of people and scenes, very highly detailed. This is on the backside of Mount Shasta in Northern California. I won't say any more about that. This is Ramu standing in front of a general, 4-star general's bedroom in Washington, D.C. Inside of a Galactic Alliance scout craft, control console, faceted crystals, luminous, palm controls. This is Etta, hovering above the ground. He's very cute. He's got a long snout, big bulbous blue eyes. His tail grows like crystal opal in bright sunlight when he levitates. He can run on all fours, walk upright like a man, or fly through the air. And he's also a master teacher. So you're going to find illustrations in here that are very highly resolved. That's Faldwell. So you'll have a visual representation to go on this journey. So I'll leave you with that, Perry. And when you get this recording up on your YouTube channel, I'll put the websites, particularly the main website, paralleltime.com there, so people can go and explore short videos, promotional videos, videos narrated by a lovely woman's voice that really are about 1 minute and 20-second long. And they can go explore more about this work and take their time. There's nothing for sale at the site. The book page will give people both books, and they can view the front and back of them at the site, look at all the chapter titles, and then they have the links to Amazon and Barnes & Noble and ebooks for both trade paperback and ebooks. So they go right to the proper links to the online retailers, so you don't have to hunt to find them, and you can get the books if you want to. Or you go right to Amazon or however you want. But I can guarantee people one thing. When they go on the journey of exploring these books, their eyes are going to be open to things they've been made to forget a very long time ago. And that's
Yes.
very helpful.
Yes. I can confirm that too from my experience. Thank you, Scott, and thank you from many beings who involved with this.
I want to wish everybody happy dreams tonight. Remember, when you put that body to sleep like you do out of habit, you're leaving that body behind on automatic. You might as well start to remember what you're doing. Inevitably, you're going to have to anyway. So I would encourage people to take this to heart, work at it, put their own effort into it, and have the experiences that I share are possible. All right, then. Pleasant dreams and good night.
Okay, thank you everyone for watching too. Please share this video and we'll see you again next time. Bye.
Bye, Perry.